Hello and welcome back to Eastenders Weekly, your weekly podcast all about EastEnders. This week we'll be discussing episodes from the 6th to the 10th of August. I have to try very hard this week to try and not sound like Jonathan Ross.
You've had a bit of a visit to the dentist.
It sounds like you have.
I know, I have to stick my teeth in.
Not sure if I'm going to be able to talk properly.
There was a great debate earlier in the week on whether I should take over presenting duties, and
I've had a lot of dentist work done this week.
Dentist.
My tongue doesn't fit in my mouth yet properly.
Your teeth don't fit in your mouth yet.
Which is quite an issue for a podcast, but it's fine. We'll get over it. We'll get through it. So we've had quite an exciting week this week on EastEnders. Yes,
we've had ups, we've had downs, and we've had Ian.
I mean, quite honestly, I'd quite just like to spend the whole episode talking about Friday because it was quite something. Friday's episode.
Yeah, Friday was a good episode. Very good episode. It really brought them back. I think they had some new vigour. I mean, obviously, they recorded it a long time ago, but since the announcement earlier this week, I think they've had this new juice.
It's psychological. Maybe because we've had
maybe we're all
news,
thinking that way. Yeah,
it just seems better. But it was quite an episode.
Quite
a Phil Mitchell.
It was quite a Phil Mitchell. We'll be discussing the news this week as well later on the podcast. So do stay tuned for a bit of the Walford Gazette a little bit later on. Something to stay tuned for.
Hope the mean journalist isn't there for the one in the wheelchair.
Oh no, she's
moved on to better.
She's moved on. Yes, we had a mutual agreement.
So we're going to start with the big storyline this week of Keanu, Dennis, Phil Mitchell, and Sharon. Yes.
So this is the beginning of potentially a much bigger storyline a little bit further down the road.
Oh yes, we've seen the trailer for next week.
Yes,
it's hotting up.
It is getting hot on the square.
I like these weekly trailers. They're doing like every week they're doing a little tidbit.
But they release them on social media, don't they? So it's almost like a little wink for the... I mean, we live in a society where you can't really hide any news of what's going to be happening on the soap. It gets leaked quite quickly. So when they do a bit of a summing up for you on their terms, it's quite nice, yeah.
So we had Dennis had his first storyline for quite a while.
Well, he's been dipping in and out. This is what EastEnders do. They remind you that someone exists.
Yeah, because last week he saw Stuart.
And the week before that he had a little bit of a scene also with Stuart. And you were kind of almost given this illusion that Dennis wants to be this bad boy. He wants to live up to his stepfather's shoes and become like the new Dennis Mitchell.
And apparently he just wants Phil to be proud of him. That's all he wants.
Who doesn't?
I mean, is Sharon not enough for him?
What, for Phil or for Dennis?
For Dennis.
I mean, Sharon's a bit of a overbearing mother, we learned this week as well. Well,
it's because of what happened to his father, though, isn't it?
Yes.
That's why.
Which
I enjoyed that mention as well. I was campaigning for that mention months ago when Shaquille died.
I mean, that mention was waiting. It was on borrowed time, really.
But they finally did it. And that's obviously Dennis Rickman, who was killed on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day.
In the square.
One of them. Sad times. And we all know that's the moment where I stopped watching EastEnders.
Yes, you've mentioned a few times. So it's nice to go full circle again, isn't it?
Complete. I'll go now. So yeah, this week Dennis was sort of wanting to have a new mobile phone, not an old one.
He wants the cool new mobile phone that all the kids at school have. And Phil, living and grunting in the caveman era, doesn't really understand what kids need a mobile phone for. But Louise helpfully kind of inclined that, well, you know, young people do need a mobile phone.
Louise has been a bit pointless this week.
This week? Her little whine to Keegan about, why are you going to Brighton?
Oh yeah, Brighton. 2 hours away.
We're going to Brighton.
In the beach.
But again, we'll come to that a bit later on.
Well, if this was a few years ago, they would have done a special 2-parter road trip.
They would have had a photo. They would have had a promotional photo of them all wearing Kiss Me Quick hats and eating rock on a deck chair with a donkey in the background eating an ice cream.
So Dennis is obviously being a bit of a spoilt brat, and they come up with the idea of letting him help everyone out at the Archers.
Yeah, he'll earn.
He's on school holiday, so
he needs to earn the money for a new mobile phone.
So he's going to be a pain in Keanu's backside by just hanging around this week at the Archers.
So Keanu gives him some money to go off and get him a donut.
Just to get him out of the way.
Just to get him out of the way. Well, because he's kind of mulling around.
He gives him quite a lot of money just to buy a donut and like a coffee.
Well, I mean, I'm sure when I've rewatched it a few times, I'm sure he only gave him £10. And later on, Dennis has a £50 note.
Yeah.
So it's
money he earned, he said to the kids. Maybe that's what Phil paid him for the day's work, plus what Keanu gave him.
Yes, we don't know what Phil gave him.
Phil might have gave it to him before he even did anything.
£50 though?
I know. Bet Keanu doesn't get that.
No, well, again, there was another theme this week that Keanu kept asking for a pay rise.
Yeah.
And when Sharon suggested,
So close.
that he should get a little bit extra money because he's been looking after Dennis all week, Keanu's face was beaming. He was like so happy. He was like a little child in a candy store. He was like, yeah,
Bless
Phil.
him. Bless Keanu.
But that's the happiest he was all week, to be fair.
So Dennis he doesn't go to the cafe to get Keanu's donut.
No, he goes to McClunkey's, the place to be.
It's a really rough place. Like drug deals going on, paedophiles, all sorts going on.
Yeah.
The man like behind the till doesn't seem to care.
Well, as long as he gets his money.
Like they do it right in front of him, like exchanging money.
When he was busy, wasn't he, talking to his work colleague about
was he?
building up the lettuce and the tomatoes in the chiller.
So to act cool and hard, Dennis, what does he order?
Well, he orders
vodka.
An extra hot kebab with more jalapenos than you can suffer.
Yeah, extra spicy.
Extra spicy.
Yeah, black coffee.
Black coffee.
To try like look cool. Like he looked around, and go, no, black.
Yeah.
And there's a new gang, not the same gang which upset Keanu and Shaquille a few weeks ago, but this is a new gang.
A new gang are on
with cool names.
I mean, the old gang, they didn't really come to Albert Square.
No,
Bruno's gang. This is Jagger's gang. This is the
Jagger. One of them was from Tracy Beaker as well. A lot of people were asking how they recognise one of them. That's where from.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even make that reference.
Yeah, Tracy Beaker.
There you go. I'm trying to. As you said, I was trying to
say because we watched Tracy Beaker and someone else from EastEnders was in it, but I can't remember who it was now.
But can we make it clear we don't regularly watch Tracy?
No,
Beaker?
But it was on the other day.
It was on the TV and
from EastEnders who's in it now was in Tracy Beaker. Very strange.
Wasn't it? Oh, I can't think.
Oh,
now.
It was Dennis. Wasn't it Dennis?
Oh, I'm not sure.
He was in the front garden on like a council estate. I'm sure it was. It was the boy who played Dennis. So they've worked together before, the gang member and Dennis.
Well, there you go, old times. So they're old hats to it. That's probably why there was so much good chemistry between them.
So, he wants a phone and he obviously sees these guys dealing mobile phones from backpacks.
Out of a red rucksack, yes.
And he sort of offers to buy one and they sort of like...
At first they say no.
But like the leader of the group...
Jagger's group.
He's like, no, it's all right. He's got grass or green or something.
Yeah. He drinks black coffee.
You got any notes? And something sort of happens and they have to like go quickly. So
the police are looking in through the window, yes. And the guy's like, we're being spied on. And he's like, do you want to learn some more notes to Dennis? And Dennis is like, yes, please.
Yes, mister.
Yeah, mister. I'll learn some more notes from you.
Oliver. So he then says, take the backpack, hide it, and we'll come back for you.
Yes.
So he hides that at the Archers, unknown to poor Keanu. Poor simple Keanu.
Well, yes, because Keanu's then spending the rest of the day looking for Dennis. So he's going around the square, bumping into Hayley,
he's not very good at looking for things. We all remember the long wait. Was it the long wait that he was looking for? So
I erased that from my mind.
Yeah. So Keanu's still looking, wandering around the square, looking for Dennis.
He finds Dennis on the swings in the playground in the end, eating a packet of chips.
Right in front of his work.
Looking smug, happy as a boy can be.
And then obviously Keanu sees the red bag and he sees that there's phones in there.
Yes.
That's all he sees at the moment.
Well, yes.
Didn't really look through it properly.
Well, no, he kind of found the red bag in the workshop and where Dennis had hidden it, and he just opened up and there was just all these phones flying out of it. I mean, like you say, I don't think it would take much more of an in-depth look to find more.
No. But that's
contraband.
For another day. So obviously Keanu's a bit worried about whether this is because he doesn't know it's Dennis. He might think it's a dodgy deal by Phil, doesn't he? So he doesn't quite want to ask about it. And his mum sort of says, just don't ask any questions. Just keep your head down and work and get the money and go.
Yeah, all you're there to do is to fix cars.
So that kind of answers that question of us asking, why is Keanu not just telling Phil? That because of what Karen said to him, I think it's like playing on his mind, I won't bring it up or I won't mention it then.
Yeah, sometimes.
Because of what Karen said.
I mean, the Taylors are still associated with trouble, aren't they? So I think Karen thinks that if Keanu goes up to Phil and it's nothing to do, he's got nothing to do with it, and then it might relate to Keanu because they're a Taylor rather than the Mitchells, because the Mitchells are seen as more of a respected family on the square.
Yeah, but I kept screaming at the thing like, just tell Phil, but I realised it's because of what his mum has sort of
he had like
said to him,
3 opportunities throughout the whole week to say something to Phil or to Sharon.
Well, to be fair, when he does tell them, they still have a go at him.
Well, true, and also Phil did say to him, if you can't sort something out yourself, then don't bother telling me. And so again,
he's just trying to impress Phil, isn't he?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because
It's
every
a bit
time,
like a mini Dennis or a larger Dennis.
yeah, every time Phil visited Keanu when he was working, or Keanu visited him, Phil would always say something that would make Keanu feel a little bit disappointed about himself, and you could see he was visibly quite upset. Like when later on, when he's cleaning the mobile phones from the rucksack, so there's like no fingerprints or anything on there with his like oily cloth, and he locks up the garage. Phil kind of barges his way in.
Yeah.
He's like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I was doing the books." And like, "You don't do the books, I do the books." And so when he opens up and takes the books, he kind of goes, "Oh, I've upset Phil again."
Yeah.
And that kind of that was another kind of tone of the week. He kind of,
well, it's that sort of thing where I think that's how Dennis and Keegan were bonding on that scene later in the week in the kitchen. How Dennis wants just Phil to be proud of him. I think in a way, obviously Keanu hasn't had that father figure ever, so is he sort of seeing Phil as that, trying to find that proud father figure in him, isn't he? From
the same way, but then later on, I think Dennis sees Keanu as the father figure.
Well, that scene.
Yes,
I love that scene.
We'll get to that scene. So it's kind of a tussle, isn't it, for the rest of the week, with Keanu trying to convince Dennis that those youths are no good. You shouldn't really be hanging around with them.
They're sending threatening messages to Dennis as well.
Yes, saying he's dead when he went off to.
But they spelt "your" like properly.
Yes.
Did you notice that too?
I noticed that too. I was very impressed with their grammar.
Your.
So they're clearly learning at school while they're sharpening their knives. And
well, you don't become the head of a gang without a bit of knowledge.
You need the brains as well as
Climb
the
up
brawn.
the ladder.
That's right.
Yes, I'd like to speak about the brawn later because I was expecting more from Keanu in this fight.
I mean, he was lynched, wasn't he? But
well, a few months ago, Aidan hired Keanu as the muscle of the group. So we would think he would have been able to take it.
But again, though, that was all. That's good point. Keanu, all he did, he kept moaning about the money he was getting paid for that as well. All Keanu worries about is the money he's making.
Well, he struggled.
He doesn't drink, and he has his dinners paid
but he wants
for
to
him every
supply for his family. That's what.
Well, for Karen, but Karen's working now. It's not like Karen's not working.
Yeah, they still don't have any money. They got chess tournaments to pay for. That's a lot of commuting.
Well, I bet Bernie's getting some winnings from the chess tournaments, or they could melt down.
She's probably spending it on presents for Tiff.
She could melt down the medals that she's won and make them into like rings or something.
So Keanu also looks deeper into the bag and finds there's also drugs in there.
Yes,
I'm assuming it was weed. It looked like
they look like little parcels of weed, herbs,
green
tea. Lots of packets of tea.
Black coffee. Coffee green.
Maybe that's why they asked him to look after it. Maybe it's illegal Colombian coffee or something.
The gang of youths, what are we calling them? What's the leader?
Well, I mean, it's Jagger.
Jagger's
So
gang.
Jagger's gang.
They're sort of hanging around trying to be intimidating around the archers. Although Phil just gets rid of them like really quickly all the time.
Well, he just shouts to them louder than what Keanu does.
Milk
Keanu's...
bottle.
Yeah. Go home and have your milk bottle.
You're not toilet trained.
yeah. On you. Dennis says something quite good though. It's like they're barely out of trousers or something like that. Keanu, sorry.
Yeah, he says they're barely out of nappies.
That's
and
it,
diapers.
they're barely out of nappies.
See, he's like a mini Phil. I'm getting like a Grant Phil vibe here.
That funny you should mention that. I thought that
Plus they both got shaved heads.
Yeah. Well, no. Did you not think there was a time when they were like doing scenes together? Keanu, I know he doesn't look anything like Phil, but he looked like a mini me Phil. I did think that at one point. So it kind of...
And also the storyline next week is similar to the Phil, Grant, Sharon storyline of
That's
past.
true. But also we're going to learn... I think Keanu starts to learn more about his father soon as well. And I mean, there's violence. There's violence that we know Keanu
Yeah, because he's getting quite angry, wasn't he, when Karen kept pestering him. He's almost clenching fists and almost punching things. I
think it just takes one thing. I think Keanu's going to be one of those characters that
because he bottles it up for so long. Or Keanu, doesn't he? He doesn't express his...
He's going to snap. He'll
take it all out on Sharon. In one way or another.
I'm going to say I don't.
Well, Sharon gets her plumbing done next week, so he takes it out on that on the plunger on the plunger in the sink.
He gets which plunger? It's disgusting hearing you say Sharon's getting her plumbing done.
She is.
Yes,
she has a blocked sink next week. Keanu helps.
Yeah, but surely can you not see the innuendo that's happening in the square?
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it, but obviously the writers are very much aware of what they're writing.
So throughout the week, we've talked about that scene when Dennis and Keanu sort of sit down and they talk about their fathers. And how Keanu never knew his father, and then Dennis says his dad died before he was born. which we all remember.
Which, yes, we remember, but Keanu
Sharon
wasn't
now
aware.
remembers.
Sharon now remembers that that's actually happened, yeah.
R.I.P. Dennis. So they sort of have that little bond, which is a nice moment. Nice bits with them. And
Dennis, at this point that Dennis realises that Keanu's not doing it to hinder him, he's doing it to help him.
Yeah.
And so it's when Keanu, for the last time, when Keanu attempts to tell Phil, and Dennis begs him not to say anything, he'll kill me, or he'll be really upset. Well, it won't be anything compared to what Jagger's group is going to do to you.
Because he's about to tell Phil, he's like, oh no, I've had it, I need to tell him.
Yeah.
And then Dennis goes, I just want him to be proud of me.
Yeah, and so that's kind of immediately switch on the switch of, I know how you feel, Dennis. Yeah, we feel the same way. Yeah. But then when he leaves, after he attempts to tell Phil, the gang are after his adopted son, Dennis gets another text message. And it's basically saying, you still work for us and you need to meet us. You quite generously said, you choose the location and the time.
Yeah, handy.
You choose Dennis.
And they've also trashed the Archers at the same sort of time.
Well, this happened earlier, and so that's another reason why, because that's what Keanu uses as an excuse for why he's gone to visit Phil, and that is that everything's all clean now, mister. Clean as a whistle.
Can I have a raise now, please?
Can I have some money,
I've done all
please?
these extra hours, all this extra babysitting. So Friday's episode, we have all those great scenes. The fight scene being my highlight of this week.
Yes, well, Keanu organises, as I say, pretending to be Dennis, to meet at the playground.
And Dennis must just stay out of the way.
Wait, that's one thing Dennis has to do. He has to stay out of the way. He can stay at home. He can sit in the cafe. He can do whatever.
Go shopping with Sharon.
Yeah, he's got the whole world as his oyster. Do whatever you like, Dennis. Do whatever you like. Just do not be at the location of the Archers.
Hang out with Janet.
Yeah, who wouldn't? She loves to party. Yeah. We've learnt this week. Janet loves to party.
So Keanu arranges for Jagger's gang. Jagger? I keep forgetting his name. Jezza. I keep calling him Jezza. Jagger's gang to meet at the sort of Archers playground.
Yeah. 3:00.
Yeah. And he's there and he says, he does actually get rid of them.
Yes, he does. He does. He says to them, I've recorded this whole conversation. He gets them to admit. He gets them to admit that they had vandalised the garage and they had theft. They had stolen from him some tools. The third time.
I know.
Poor old Keanu just can't keep hold of tools.
It was Hayley.
Yeah. But the Hayley gave them back, but he'd already bought a new set. Yeah. Well, there you go. So he doesn't need to buy another set.
There you go. He's got one.
He's got a spare set ready. But Dennis couldn't take the advice from Keanu.
No, he's hiding behind a car.
He has to see the action.
Like right on view as well.
I mean, what does he hope to find? What does he hope to see?
Well, maybe he wants to just gain experience of how to handle situations. So he's watching from afar.
Well, in case he gets a job as an interrogator or something.
Well, no, because he's a Mitchell.
He's a Mitchell.
He needs to learn
an honorary Mitchell.
So they chase him down the alleyway, which we haven't seen in quite a while, that alleyway.
That alleyway has got a lot to speak for. I don't know why they haven't got security cameras in that alleyway.
Last time that alleyway was shown, wasn't Paul and Ben beaten up there, I think?
No, Paul and Ben were beaten up.
No, before he died.
No, someone
got beaten up. Was it Jay?
No, a female got beaten there. And I've got a funny feeling it was Lauren. So they were pregnant.
Possibly someone.
There was someone pregnant, and they got hit there, and everyone was worried that they'd lose the baby.
Yeah,
but I can't think who it is now.
That's annoying.
But
let us know.
Let us know. To be fair, the last time the alleyway was used was when they were chasing the pedo hunt, and they were chasing the guy. And he was hiding as well. He was hiding behind a car or behind the swings.
Yeah,
and
alleyway.
Mick was going, "What do you know? What have you done?"
So yeah, they punched Dennis in the nose.
Yes, I know. How old is it? 12, 13-year-old boy?
Not very old, is he?
That's poor show, Jagger.
And then Keanu jumps in as the hero.
Keanu jumps in,
the muscles.
Smacks Jagger. Jagger pushes him off, smacks him back.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that he was jumped on by 5 other lads, but I thought Keanu could have handled that.
I know. Come on.
He's a big lad.
Yeah, all those pull-ups he's been doing in January.
Yeah. We're working in the garage.
Sees too many donuts.
And bacon sandwiches, which he drips down his front of his top.
Don't tell Sharon.
No.
She might get carried away.
But she can't wash his shirt at the moment because she needs her plumbing doing.
Can you imagine if he walks along with bacon grease dripping down and Sharon just looks at him and stares with her
with her judgy look.
With the poses that she does at the moment.
I mean, later we'll have to talk about when she stood in the square, her wonky leg.
And her hair. Her
hair.
That's a topic in itself.
Well, there was a topic, wasn't there, on Twitter about her hair? Someone was comparing her to Mariah Carey.
But this is the other. We're still on the fight scene.
I know. Okay,
so it's hilarious. So yeah, Keanu's getting beaten.
Yes.
He says to Dennis, "Just run."
Dennis
says,
apologising.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not instead of running.
No. I think he was quite badly hurt, to be fair.
Well, yeah, true.
Smacked in the face.
But Phil.
Yes, hero of the hour.
He takes on, what is there, five, six of them? Seven?
It was like watching a scene from like the 1970s Incredible Hulk series. Like you just imagine him, like his shirt ripping and him turning green. He just came storming in.
Oh, no. And he did like one punch.
Punched
and
one.
Need someone and then turned
threw someone over a fence.
Yeah, that was my favourite bit. The bit over the fence was like, oh, that's just amazing.
Then he shouted at Jagger and his other mate, "You want some?" And they were like, "No, thank you very much."
That's so funny.
And so they ran off. I mean, I can't think what it is now, but I kind of expected it when he punched that guy, like the kind of uppercut thing.
Pow.
No, it's zonk. No, I expected the guy to fly into the air, like almost go wee. Just turn it. But yeah, good old Phil. He's not lost.
Straight over that fence.
He's not lost anything, Phil.
No. That new liver. He's doing wonders for him.
Yep. See what you can do when he's not been drinking. Grunt around.
So yeah, he saved Dennis and Keanu's life, and then we have like that really good scene actually with when it all sort of comes out that Keanu had known and hadn't told Sharon and Phil. But that was a really good scene.
Really good argument actually. Really well played.
All three of them were at the height.
And Dennis portrayed it really well as well. Yeah, getting more and more wound up that Phil was kind of accusing Keanu.
And he sort of says no. He took a beating for me.
Yeah, he did.
And then they have Sharon goes for it. She brings up his brother being stabbed.
Yes, have you learned?
Shakil's dead.
Have you learned anything from?
She turns her back on him.
Yes,
because she's so angry.
She is.
I love watching that scene, just looking at her because she's like reacting the whole time.
I mean, it's nice to give Sharon some kind of emotional scene.
She's really good at these emotional scenes though. Because remember a few months ago when it was like when Ingrid was leaving, and she had that really good. It was like a really random scene where she was talking about Louise.
There was a scene with Hunter where she said, "You don't hurt Louise. You treat her with respect." And she had a tear coming down her eyes.
And it was the same again this time. She was all
it's nice
high emotion.
Yeah, it's nice to see Letitia Dean giving
used.
Used properly as well. Used as this.
Just need to sort out her wardrobe and
makeup
and hair.
I know.
It's yes.
Unspeakable.
So they now know the truth about Keanu. Still kind of having a go at him though.
Because they have put Dennis in danger, and they were right to say that he should have said something to them. But then, at the same time, as we mentioned earlier, every time he attempted to say something, they would kind of curve it round to say, "Just get on with your work, have some more money."
Yeah. And we also get like a longing look and a little scene with Sharon and Keanu towards the end as well.
Yes, this is where Wonky Leg Sharon comes into play.
She's staring at the pavement.
She's staring at the pavement, but at a really her she's almost curved like a C. If you're looking at her face on, she's curved like a C shape.
Well, she's ready for the cameras. She's always camera ready.
Hand on her hips.
So, Keanu turns up bloody faced, and that's when she tells him about Dennis, who got killed in this very spot.
Yes, and Keanu's like, "Oh yes, I remember." Dennis said.
There was like a little longing look at each other for like a few seconds before they parted ways. So
I think it was almost like I think that look was more of a sympathetic, we've both been in the same boat. So there's already the spark now, the link between them. They've both had or experienced knife crime.
Can't wait for next week.
Well, exactly. I mean, there's a couple of things I thought to quickly also bring up is that Sharon mentioned earlier that she missed the thrill of men fighting over her. So
don't we all?
Of course, but obviously this is something. And Phil and Sharon was never the power couple that I think Sharon had always imagined. Phil at one point became a bit of a retired gangster,
godfather.
Yeah.
She's been dropping little hints throughout the few months that she's a bit upset and bored with Phil though. She, with her little scenes with Linda in the cafe.
Well, that's what I mean. In the cafe, she said, Phil's got me booking tickets for a boxing match just so we can have some time.
Passion.
Yeah, so we can look after Dennis while I organise a birthday cake for his birthday.
She wants to go to bed and he just buys her a big bar of chocolate.
I mean, was that the last time they had sexual times? Had chocolate? Yeah, let's call it chocolate. Is that the last time they had the chocolate? Well, dark chocolate, the 100% cocoa?
Think about it.
But then this is it. This is, I mean, now Phil's found his
vigor.
Yeah, his vigor, his energy back.
But that used up all his energy, that fight, because the next scene he was sat in his armchair like, ugh.
No, he wasn't. He was shouting at Keanu.
Oh, yeah.
Bless him. So he still had a bit of anger inside of him. I mean, that's the Phil that Sharon fell in love with. But I I think Sharon was quietly impressed that Keanu looked after Dennis for her.
I think they need to divorce Phil and Sharon, and Phil can get with Shirley again. His true love.
That's something that could happen. Anyway, that's something we may debate a little bit later on.
So we've just got a few tweets from Twitter, obviously, because they're tweets. We have from... I'm sorry, I know that you listen to the show as well, but I just can't pronounce the Twitter handle. It's Bovary C. Is that how you pronounce it?
Bovary C?
Bovary C. I don't know. I'm butchering your name and I know you're listening. Anyway, she says, Phil and Sharon yell at Keanu thinking it's his fault. Then Dennis says it's his fault. And Phil and Sharon still yell at Keanu for trying to help. So yeah, poor Keanu.
Quite right.
From all ends. Just like Sharon next
week. I was about to say that. Oh no.
We got Kitty Cat, who says, I don't understand why Phil and Sharon were shouting at Keanu. He just saved Dennis's life. Another one, and Keanu's got all the support.
Well, yes, he did save Dennis at that point, but that's not to say that the gang weren't... Phil saved
Keanu's
Dennis
life.
And Keanu. But Phil saved both their lives because he came along and did his Hulk smash.
Lucy saying, why Sharon and Phil blaming Keanu? He was trying to help. Maybe if they kept a better eye on Dennis themselves, he wouldn't have gotten caught up in this mess.
But that's the other thing. Sharon said, you let me let him out. About Dennis. Yeah. You made me let him out. It's like, he's not a dog, Sharon. He's a child.
And then I've got 4 tweets here, all on the same subject.
Ooh.
So Jack says, why does Sharon always dress like she's going out on the Raz? Put some chill clothes on for once. With her flowy tops. Amy says, Sharon's hair gets worse each episode. Looks like a bad mullet. Kirsty says, what's going on with Sharon's hair? Looks like ski slopes.
Oh no.
And Mariah says, even Sharon's own son can't look at her because of her hair.
My goodness. Yeah. I mean, her hair wasn't
Sharon's
that
hair was
bad.
top.
Well, it was better than the bangs, as the Americans call them, the fringe. That fringe.
Just needs it chopped off a bit. Take the extensions.
It'd be nice to her to have a nice new... She should have a nice short haircut, like Michelle. I mean, Sharon is the hair, isn't it? That's part of her power. She's like the female Herculean. Like, if you cut her hair off, her powers diminish further.
Her and Linda are power hair barmaids, that's why. All the barmaids have to have big hair, don't they? On EastEnders.
She doesn't have a bar anymore.
Well, she got E20.
Oh, yeah. She
apparently owns it.
I always forget that she doesn't own that kind of cocktail bar that Vincent used to...
Oh, yeah. No one knows what happened to that. Well, Aiden's in there
still waiting. You don't even see it anymore.
Right, so we're going to move on to a bit of a mixed story of characters.
Yeah, a lot of people in one plot.
So it's mainly Billy, Honey, Rainie and Max sort of mixing up their 2 stories together.
Jay kind of pops his opinion in every now and then, and yeah.
So we learn that Honey is having sort of money troubles.
Financial troubles.
Sharon's not.
Sharon's got more money than sense, but she can't afford to buy a mobile phone for her new son.
Doesn't deserve it. She's got laundry to pay for. It's like Karen charges her a lot, doesn't she? Do you think she charges Sharon a lot because she's rich?
She overcharged on purpose because she said, I had to do something twice. And I was like, oh, yeah, all right.
Sharon's like, doesn't matter. Just throws notes at her.
I mean, £40 goes to the kitty and £20 goes into her own back pocket, doesn't it?
This is when she sort of invites Honey to go shopping with her for school clothes. Yeah, because they're looking for school clothes.
Yeah. Dennis is getting the full works. They're all going up to high school now. They're all going to Walford High.
Oh dear.
And he's getting...
That's downhill for their lives then.
They won't go. They're getting shirts, jumpers, blazers, trousers. And Honey's like, hang on, blazers aren't compulsory. Thinking, because she's getting uniform for Janet. Because she's getting Janet to go to a public school too, not going to a specialised school.
Yes. Because Billy mentions that a bit later, doesn't he? Which I thought was a bit like...
Yeah, well, Billy's
such a... Not a snot. He's like really... He doesn't like admitting that Janet has special needs, does he?
He never has, though. That's always been the character trait.
You would have thought he would have gotten over that by now, but he's still not liking it, does he?
When Janet was born, remember there was that famous... Pat has a conversation with him at the hospital and he's like, Mongs, we used to call them. when Billy couldn't accept. And that's one of the reasons why Honey left. So it's always been hard for Billy, and it's quite nice that they've kept that. They haven't just thrown it away and just ignored it.
You would have thought he would have grown now.
He loves Janet. Of course he does.
Obviously
now.
You don't. You can't remember her name.
No, clearly. But at the same time, there's always going to be this thing that she has to be normal. She has to be the same as everyone else.
Stigmatism. I'm not sure where that comes from Billy. obviously something...
He was bullied at school. He says he was
he?
bullied at school. He was always seen as the odd one out, and he doesn't want the same to happen to Janet.
I need to look up my Billy history, actually, because I don't know too much about Billy.
The Encyclopedia of Billy?
Yeah. The earliest I remember Billy is when he used to have a video store rental.
Oh, I remember that video store.
But apart from that, I'll look it up for next week. Bit of Billy history. So yeah, Honey sort of says no to Sharon, but doesn't admit it's because she has no money. But Karen sort of picks up on this because she said she's seen that face a million times in the mirror.
Yes.
So she has like a word with Honey, and it actually says, "Oh, I've got this blazer that's been left behind for 6 months. Why don't you have it? Just restitch the logo." And Honey's accepting of it in private.
She is, but then when Billy mentions it later, saying she's not getting handouts,
yeah, she's like, "Oh no, Karen's just being silly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take that." It's like...
Her snobby side came back out again. But there was that nice conversation as well between Karen and Honey about Janet going to a standard a normal public school
because of Chatham and Riley.
And Karen actually says a really lovely line when she says it ain't one size that fits all, which I thought was a really nice way of saying things. So Chatham and Riley wouldn't have suited that environment. But
no, it's really nice that that's something that obviously her and Karen and Honey can bond over and have that same sort of relationship with.
Karen loves being linked to characters, doesn't she? She's every week she gets links to another character.
That's a laundrette for you.
Yep.
So yeah, we've got these sort of money issues, and obviously Karen says that to Billy. Billy then becomes ridiculous as usual and takes it all out of proportion and tries to like hand her some money just for the uniform, and Honey's a bit like, well, it still won't do.
Yeah, because now I have to find somewhere else to live.
Evil Pam and Les.
I know, how dare they? How dare they undercharge them for such a long time and suddenly realise that they could actually make some money?
Yeah. Having their little retired life in, where is it, Cornwall? Somerset?
I don't know, it was a beach town, wasn't it?
Yeah. Cornwall.
I don't think Pam's having much fun. She's always coming back to the East End.
I know, I love Pam.
Yeah.
Love her. Bring back Pam.
Bring back Pam.
She can get with Ted.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah.
Well, don't start planting seeds into minds.
So this is when this now puts an idea into Billy's head that, oh wait, they can't afford the rent. Maybe Honey can live with me.
In the
and I can be a happy family again.
Yeah, with Jay. Because we've got like 5 rooms that we need to rent, and
everyone keeps dying.
Jay's got no money because of, he must have spent all the money he got from the car lot, or he's saving it and he just doesn't want to share it with Billy.
That money is very suspicious. The car lot money. It's like, did he get it?
It's anything to do with the Waylands, isn't it? It's very kind of let's just pretend it never happened.
Waters.
Yeah.
While they're talking about the rent and the cash issues, Billy also then talks to Honey about Janet not going to a school. He wants her to go to a normal school, doesn't he?
He was bullied at school because he had to wear a hand-me-down uniform, and he just doesn't want the same kind of treatment. Again, relating himself to Janet. Him and Janet are very similar people. Just Billy hasn't quite seen that yet.
See, I was swept away with the Sharon storyline.
I mean, it was very difficult. When you try to shoehorn a storyline like that into the action that has happened around it, it's very difficult to keep an eye on it.
Okay. See, I said I need to get up on my Billy history. So we then go to sort of the next day when the cafe is at its busiest I've ever seen it.
It was insane. It's been kind of busy like that before when Hayley was contemplating having that fried breakfast. When she clapped her eyes on that fried bread and she licked her lips.
Oh yeah, and sometimes when Tina's like stressed, it becomes really busy as well. But this was really busy. There was only 1 seat left for Honey.
Yep.
Honey wants a booth all to herself, probably.
Of course she does. Queen Honey.
Yeah. So she has to sit next to Rainie, the ex-drug addict prostitute.
But, Honey kind of liked having the conversation. She was having a bit of a chat with Rainie.
Small talk. It's like...
Yeah. But she did open up, and she kind of opened up that she loves spending time with Billy, talking about houses, and that kind of gives...
Yeah, she said, I love looking up houses and imagining I live in them.
Yeah. I bet Honey...
Is that all she does at the Minute Mart all day?
Probably. Well, she takes magazines out the Minute Mart and then reads them.
And then she had to go at Rainie for doing the same. But that was a bit later.
Well, she got them for Rainie, thinking that Rainie was going to buy them.
Weird.
I know, it was ridiculous. It was mad.
It's like, what? She bought them out of the shop to take to the pub for Rainie to read them, but she thought she was buying them. So what? They then walk back to the Minute Mart and scan them through the till?
Oh, yeah, so she must have put them
really
through the till first. That's a fair point. Yeah, I don't know how it works in the Minute Mart.
It was very bizarre.
I mean,
I'm still not a fan of Rainie.
Oh, see, no, I said this last week. I am Rainie like a fungus. Rainie is slowly growing on me. She is becoming a much more rounded character, and she's obviously being intertwined with the other cast bit by bit. In fact, more than what Max has been. Max is still kind of isolated from everyone else.
Well, no one can forgive him.
Well, no, but
no one can forgive him for murdering Stephen. Oh no! Wait, that's not been mentioned.
That's controversial.
Yeah, because Rainie sort of has a hand this week in convincing Honey to move back in with Billy.
Yes, because
there's a few things going on with her and Max as well.
Yeah, well, Billy's always Billy, Rainie, and this is where the story kind of splits two ways. There's Billy, Rainie, and Honey is trying to convince herself, because Billy's now asked Honey if she wants to move in together, and Honey's trying to convince herself whether she should do it or not. And at first, Rainie almost let slip that she saw Billy with a prostitute.
Yeah, because she says, "Oh, men never change. He's cheated on you once.
Yeah.
Next time it'll be a prostitute or something."
Yeah, and Honey said, "What do you mean? You mentioned something like this."
It took her
before.
like 10 seconds to realise.
Yeah. Well, she started carrying on. The thing is with Honey is that she likes the sound of her own voice, and so she doesn't realise people have said something. That's one of the reasons why she acts a little bit thick, because she doesn't realise people are saying something to her because she likes listening to her own voice. But Billy goes and visits Rainie and says, "Oh, please don't say you said anything," but then gives Rainie some really nice advice about working things out with Max, because she kind of says, "Why is he?" Rainie kind of has a bit of a breakdown because Max has now said that all she's concerned about is the money, and that's what it should be about with the baby.
Don't forget it.
Don't forget it.
Don't get your feelings mixed.
Yeah, and so she made a bit of a mistake in the car lot. But
it wasn't her mistake, actually.
It was Max's mistake. And that's the other thing I was bring up quickly, is that Max, I genuinely think, would be just sat on a beanbag. But yeah, completely useless without Rainie.
I don't know why Rainie's falling for him.
But Rainie organised everything. She organised temp work for when she goes with the baby. She organised looking at houses. She organised getting more stock.
Yeah, but that was a bit of a double bluff, I think.
Oh, do you think?
Because she accidentally left the Spanish house paper in there for him to see. And she was like, "Oh no, that's for me.
Oh, yeah,
you don't want to see that." She's sort of double bluffing Max to say, "Oh, I'm not getting interested in you, actually. See, I'm looking for houses in Spain. I have plans with the money." I think she is double bluffing him, and that kind of works, because at the end, Max is kind of jealous.
Yeah, with the guy.
He storms in.
Props, first of all, to the actor playing car buyer number one.
I know, that's how I was looking.
He really knew. He was basically earning his $200 for being an extra without talking.
Yeah, because she's trying to fix. She's realised that the car's been sold for 600, not 6,000.
Yeah. So,
and she invites him back to thing, and Max like storms into the cabin like, "That's my wife. What are you doing?"
And the guy's like, "What?"
I know.
But I loved him. He was great.
But yeah, Max is acting more like Jack. I've noticed.
They are
the
Brannings.
Annoying. He's
Jack,
so unlikable, Max is, at the moment.
Let's also mention Jack quickly. He came running down the stairs with his sunglasses on, leaving his kids. Dad,
like black t-shirt and jeans.
off to the beach.
So
Dad,
cool.
Best dad of the world. Remember last week he was telling Mel about how great and amazing a dad he was? Off he goes, leaving his kids with two practical strangers with
Not
his children.
To be seen for the rest of the week.
Yeah. And also Ricky, we didn't.
Wow.
For a while, we've been saying, "Where's Ricky?"
Yeah.
Ricky's
now we know why.
But now we know.
He's been recast.
Yes. Spoilers, guys. He's been recast.
So normally that means they've got plans for Ricky. Because obviously Bobby was recast. And we all know what happened to Bobby.
Yes, we do.
He had a big storyline. So yeah, Ricky. New Ricky.
Is that going to be his name? New Ricky. New Ricky,
TM. And Baby Abby.
Baby Abby, TM. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's like the Max and Rainie half. And that's where she convinces Billy. She speaks to Billy, and that makes her change her mind on him. And then she convinces Honey, "Oh, maybe you should move in."
Yeah.
So Honey agrees to move in.
Yes.
But with some rules.
Few rules. They can't sleep in the same bed.
Frosty Knickers is back.
Yes, she is, and I think she kind of disappointed Jay for the fact that there was going to be no parties, even though Janet likes to party.
Yeah, separate rooms for her and Billy.
Yeah,
and they're just friends.
They're just friends for now.
And we all also know there's been a new casting announced of a local dentist.
It's about time they had a dentist in EastEnders.
Yeah, why not?
I know.
Do you think he'll be like crazy and he'll like torture someone in a dentist chair?
I was hoping he'd be a bit like, I forget what not Doctor. No, Dr. Foster. Are you going to say Dr.
No.
Foster? Jane, remember
May. Is it May?
Oh, right, the one who stole the baby.
Yeah, wasn't she a nurse or a
doctor?
She
was a doctor, yeah.
See?
But she couldn't have a child.
But yeah, he is being introduced as Honey's like a love interest. So that's interesting. So I'm glad they're not getting her and Billy back together straight away. It's nice. We've been saying this for ages. Honey needs a non-Billy storyline, and they've done it.
Yeah, well, yes, finally.
So it's interesting and it's good.
But it's just a shame that it's going to involve Billy as well.
Yeah.
Because
he'll be jealous, and
that's what. And you know, when Billy's jealous,
and he'll walk in, and he'll try and like interrupt them together and stuff, or sit in the middle of them on the sofa and things like that.
Yeah,
I imagine.
Yeah. Do you reckon he'll get a room in the bedsit then? Because they're supposed to be a spare room.
They'll be dating, so he'll be at the bedsit a lot.
Yeah, but that's how.
Or maybe he is crazy, and he sees that Billy keeps trying to get back with Honey, so he offers Billy some like free dental treatment and like. Tries to kill him.
Win him with a smile.
It'd be evil to him and like hurt him in the dentist.
Give him too much gas, like the dentist from Little Shop of Horrors. Well, maybe. But the thing is, you can't villainise a dentist. A dentist only does their job. Yes, but it's only because you've had work.
Doctors.
Yes, but you've had some work done. You're feeling a bit sore about yourself. You've been thinking about dentists.
But yeah, fun. Right, so we've got a few comments on Twitter about the Billy, Honey, Rainie, Max. It was quite hard to find tweets because it was twits. It was quite hard to find tweets about it because it was a bit mixed up. But I just got a few on here, and one of them is, we've kind of touched upon it, but it was a blogger online called Natalie Williams, and she said she's just catching up on EastEnders from a couple of days ago, and that she loved the conversation between Honey and Karen where they were talking about disability as part of an everyday normal conversation. And when Karen says in relation to a SEN school, well, you just said it, it's not a one size fits all. And then she really applauded them, but she does some work with stuff like that anyway. But I thought it was a nice tweet.
I liked that they made it they just didn't make it, and it was just a normal conversation, and they didn't make it a standout statement, but it was done in such a way that it was aware, you were aware that it was said, and I liked the way they portrayed that actually. And
we've got Bait Out Matthew, who says, I'd love to see Honey just do her own thing and not get back to Billy at all. I never agreed with them being broken up in the first place, but I don't like the idea that she needs to get back with a man who cheated on her.
I mean, she isn't being the damsel in distress in this situation.
Which is good, because that's normally all Honey ever does. And then Stephen says, Billy has only ever loved Honey. That's what he said earlier, didn't he? Didn't he love Little Mo when they were together once upon a time?
Oh, yes, that's true. That's true.
And Honey and Rainie are an odd friendship, but I quite love it. And that was from Morgan.
Funnily enough, I like the Holly and Rainie relationship. Honey and Rainie relationship too.
Snooty Tooty.
Roni. Or
Runny Honey.
Runny Honey. Brilliant. There we go.
So, we're going to pop off to a bit of a different section this week because there's been some big news about EastEnders' future.
Yes. So this is a little bit of Walford news. As we alluded to earlier in the programme, there has been a real big deal of an announcement.
Also one that I predicted from a listener's question quite a few weeks ago.
Was that the EastEnders extra we did?
No, I think it was before. Maybe it was that one. When someone said, John York's time is up, who would you like to see as a new executive producer?
No, it was quite early on, actually. Yeah. I think it was just
before. Go back and try and find it. I'll link it. And you can hear me predict this from about 4 months ago.
Oh dear, Ben! I can't actually see anything for your head in this room.
Well, you wanted I can't remember who you wanted actually.
Dominic.
Remember. Oh, you wanted him back.
I wanted him back,
and I said Russell T Davies as like a not going to happen, but would be cool, but would happen. Kate Oates. So what's the news?
So the news is that Kate Oates is coming to be the executive producer of.
It's like a really big title. Like the actual title is like
senior executive producer.
Like, I know. Not just executive producer, but it's a big job she's taken on, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. It's not just EastEnders she's doing. She's also doing Casualty and Holby City, which are considered, even though they're weekly, they are both considered serials as well.
So they don't have 2 weeks off a year.
They have like a 4-week rest in the summer.
Coming this week.
And then they come back. Yeah, well, tonight's the last episode of Casualty for the season.
Mick's daughter's there.
He is.
She is.
Sorry, yes, she is. He is.
Shaquille's coming into it. Holby next year.
He is. They're all kind of coming from. But which again,
Rebecca Scroggs is in an episode from our interview a few weeks ago.
In December, so you can keep an eye out on that episode as well. So I'm going to read the official statement by the BBC. And it says, Kate Oates, the highly regarded and multi-award-winning former producer of Coronation Street and Emmerdale, is to join BBC Studios as senior executive producer overseeing primetime continuing dramas. I love they don't call it soaps. Continuing dramas.
That's what they're called on the awards.
That's what they're called on the BBC. The BBC, don't you know? EastEnders, Holby City and Casualty. Kate Oates said, working across EastEnders, Casualty and Holby City is an amazing opportunity for me. I'm excited about meeting the teams and talent behind each show and can't wait to get stuck in and tell some unmissable stories. There was a couple of quotes as well from the director of BBC Content, Charlotte Moore, who said that Kate Oates is a real asset and no doubt that her experience, creative flair and dynamism will excite the next generation of BBC One fans. So that's a telling thing. They're obviously trying to get the young crowd back in again.
Well, EastEnders always was like the young person soap.
It
obviously
was
before Hollyoaks,
but it's taken time for it to kind of bring it in. And
we were once those young fans.
We were still young, Ben. I am anyway.
Not the right demographic, I'm afraid.
And Piers Wenger, the controller of the BBC Drama, said Kate's track record for making continuing drama, they're sticking to that, the nation's most talked about TV, is unrivaled. And working closely, this is interesting, she's going to continue working closely with John York, and then there's going to be a transition period.
I was going to say reading that was really good because it's so messy. Whenever it happens, it's a bit messy because things suddenly change.
There's almost like a switch, isn't there? And you can see the moment when one's gone and then one comes along. And
storylines have to be then ended, and then you have to slowly build new storylines, new characters. So it's really nice that they're doing this as like they say, a smooth transition, don't they?
Yes, they said they're going to do
so they're working together for a bit to cross storylines. So it's not that, it's like, for example, the Wilmot Brown, it was like Wilmot Brown, Aidan, and it was filmed differently, different characters.
And then when John York took over, the storyline ended almost instantaneously.
And it's always not messy, but it's always like you can just see there's this sort of complete change. Yeah. And then you have to then wait another like 4 months for them then their stuff to get going and build up. Yeah. So it always feels slow, and that's the last thing you want after having 2 executive producers within 2 years. Yeah. You don't have time to have 4 months of build up again.
I mean, it's lovely the BBC have given this confidence in the soap, because you kind of got the feeling recently that or not very recent, but early in the year, that the BBC were beginning to lose a bit of confidence.
Well, yeah, there is, I'm not going to name names, inside source, but there was rumours that the BBC very, very nearly did cancel EastEnders about 2 years ago. It was like on the edge of being cancelled.
Wow. But see, that's going to make the cast and the crew and any producer that joins the programme feel a little bit like, well, what's the point then if you're thinking about axing it? And the fact that they've got Kate Oates, this big deal of a producer. She's done great things to Emmerdale, Coronation Street.
And she tends to stay for quite a few years, doesn't she?
I think she stayed with Coronation Street for 2. I don't think it was too long, 2 or 3. Don't quote me on that. No. I mean, she did.
I mean, 3 to 4 years is normally the executive producer's range.
You can get a nice storyline in that time, can't you? You can. I mean, she has worked with the BBC before. She worked for a long time, in fact, on The Archers.
That's where she started her career, wasn't it?
She started doing Crossroads as a researcher and script editor. I know. That was the remake of Crossroads, in case anyone's wondering, not the 70s version. She's not that old.
But she's really worked her way up.
She's worked real hard to get where she's got to. But with a great track record as well. Everything she touches, she's been very lucky. Everything she's done, actually, that's unfair. She's not been lucky. She's worked hard to get where she's got to. I think we should give John York some credit, because John York, in my opinion, and on Twitter we had a discussion about it, has laid some decent foundations for. I mean, Kate.
It was always a tricky role because he wasn't ever executive producer.
No.
He was only there like temporary for like 4 to 6 months.
He was propping up the show, basically.
Then he was there for another 3 months, and then they announced he's going to fill out a whole year recently. So he could never have laid, like a 2-year story arc, because it's not feasible.
It was obvious when you're watching the soap at the moment. The stories are very much like Monday to Friday, to Friday,
3-month chunks, aren't they?
And the main one he's done has been the Stuart and the Carter story,
and the Aidan one.
And the Aidan one he wrapped up himself, didn't he?
No, the Aidan one was his. The Wilmot Browns he wrapped up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. So the Aidan thing, but that was all intertwined, wasn't it? It was to kind of get the O'Connor story out of the way so that he could start. But it's interesting, so that Oates is going to be working with York to start with, so then they can work together. I've got a funny feeling that this has been happening behind the scenes for longer than just the last couple of
I
days.
think BBC have been waiting for her because she had that contract where she made a drama for ITV, and I think they've just been. That's why they kept extending John Yorke's contract like a few months and just say, "Oh, could you just hang on until they're ready to announce it?" Because everyone said, "Oh, she can't join EastEnders because she's doing this ITV drama." Obviously, that's done now, so I think that's why they kept. Just
sidelines,
just a few more months, until we can announce it. But it's a big role. But she's mainly focusing on EastEnders.
It's not been announced that that's what's happening. But again, EastEnders is the puppy with the injured wound in the corner, the injured paw in the corner that needs the help the most. Casualty is actually doing very well. Holby City, I think, is chugging along quite nicely too. EastEnders is the one that really needs the propping up. And although I think they've given her the role for all three, but I've got a funny feeling that she's going to be
mainly focusing
on EastEnders. But then who are we to say? It's interesting to think that also that she's done soaps and she has a great background on soaps, but she doesn't really have a huge background on medical dramas. And so we won't talk about it too much because this isn't a podcast.
They're keeping their executive producers for those two shows as well.
Exactly. So she's
whereas
almost...
EastEnders doesn't have one.
No, and so she's going to be shadowing them too.
Yeah.
I think she's just going to... I think with Casualty and Holby City, she's just going to make sure that they're staying in line and that they carry on the way they're going. Maybe she might interject.
I mean, EastEnders is the perfect soap for her because when she was on Corrie, she was doing all these really dark storylines. And people were like, well, Corrie is more of like a half happy, half serious. And EastEnders has always been known as the gritty one, like Gritty London. So hopefully she won't be... A lot of people like moan that she made Corrie a bit too dark and a bit too gritty and horrible. Knowing EastEnders is that's what people like from it. Hopefully she can just go out, do the storyline she wants and not get... the
criticism she's bringing it too dark. Did you actually draw to... something I wanted to discuss with you as well. There was a really good article that came out about a day later once the news was announced from the Metro. And it was written...
Oh, I know who that is.
Yes, it was written by Duncan Lindsay. And he's very kindly allowed us to discuss his article on this podcast. So thank you. If you wanted to follow him, by the way, he does some great writing of soaps.
He does all the soaps, yeah.
Does all the
best exclusive interviews. He's the one that said the Kamel leaving interview and stuff. Announced that and stuff.
Yeah. So. He's the editor of the soaps in Metro, and you can find him on @Duncan Lindsay, just his name, capital DUNCANLINDSAY, or you can follow him on @Metro UK. And he's basically put like 10 things that he would like to see the new boss Kate Oates do.
Let's hear him.
And well, one of them you've already just mentioned.
Say if I approve or not.
Fair enough.
Seeing as I was the first one to announce the news.
So he says that Kate caused many a debate of Coronation Street about the show going too dark.
Yes.
And it's pretty hard to make EastEnders a show which started off being gritty, too dark. So is that something that he can bring back? Because EastEnders has always been criticised for trying to be a little bit comical and trying to make a joke, and it always falls a bit flat.
Very rarely it works comical. Apart from a few people. Shirley is good with her one-liners.
Which she just shouts.
Yeah, she's
a lot.
Just amazing. But yeah, some, like, for example, Ian and Masood.
No, well...
Not feeling it.
Here's another point that he brings up. So, no, that's absolutely perfect. So, you saying about Ian and Masood, he brings up, because something that Kate Oates does is that she doesn't axe characters necessarily, but she builds on what she's got. And obviously the bills have become a bit thinned out recently with all the storylines where...
Yes, they've all just been going.
They've all been...
Well, he's only got one son left now, hasn't he? One son and one daughter.
Well, that's it. And he says with Peter, Stephen, Lucy, Bobby all gone, and even Jane and Lauren and Louis also away from the square.
Cindy.
Ian, oh yes, and not forgetting Cindy. Ian is a bit like a lost puppy, hanging around and having the odd feud with Masood while pining to Mel. Kate should give the Bills a Barlow-style resurgence. So that's Ken Barlow, because what she did was when she joined Coronation Street, she introduced them all. Not them all, but she reintroduced a lot of their family back into the soap. And so he's suggesting that they should do that, bringing Peter back with Lauren and Louis to give Ian a houseful again.
You see, my biggest problem
is Lauren.
Lauren. But Lauren's sister Abby, she can't be brought back.
There was a few, as well as Ronnie and Roxy, there were a few cries for bring them back from the dead on Twitter. I mean, you can't.
See, if they just let Max carry on with his plan to send Abby over to America to have this weird, expensive treatment or whatever, they could have brought Abby back. She's woken up and she's back for revenge.
Which she comes from the grave. You
no,
just see this fist pump
she
through
wakes
the ground.
from her coma or whatever.
Oh, I see. Before she actually died.
They shouldn't have actually killed her on screen. They should have just said she's on life support and just left it.
Yeah, but you could only kept that in the background.
Yeah, until Kate Oates comes back and then she can bring her back.
But again, they never knew that she was coming back at that point.
I know, but it's annoying.
They had O'Connor at that point and they were trying to keep...
Imagine what Kate Oates could do with a character like Abby, like that unhinged...
Oh, there was so much...
Especially waking up from a coma, she would be even more unhinged and it would just be writes itself.
No, I completely agree with you. They wasted Abby because there was so much more they could have done with Abby. But there was quite an outcry also for bringing back Aunt Babe. As at Russ_Graves said, I hope she brings back Aunt Babe. It's as simple as that. So there's a bit.
Can't bring back an Abby, bring back Aunt Babe.
I mean, yes, Aunt Babe always saw Abby in herself, didn't she? So
yeah.
There were a few other things that Duncan Lindsay had suggested. As I said, Kate's strength at Coronation Street was ensuring that most of the cast got a chance in the spotlight, with a wide and varied mix of plots running concurrently across the community, so that they weren't seeing the same old faces over and over again. That's a big thing in us EastEnders. A lot of people
saw a bit of that this week with like a lot of the plots kind of crossing-ish.
But the Carters, a lot of people are getting a little bit sick of the Carters because there always seems to be a storyline.
It's always just them. It never involves anyone else, does it?
Exactly. They're always quite an insular family, and so nothing happens where anyone else can kind of join in from the outside in. Which also brought him to the conclusion that maybe the Vic should get some new blood too, and perhaps some new owners.
The only trouble with that is I don't think the Carters could stay if they weren't in the Vic. I don't think there's enough.
I mean, we said that about in the past about Kat and Alfie when they got chucked out of the Vic. We all thought,
but they didn't come in as part of the Vic, and like for Mick and Linda, that's like that's been their dream, is to run a pub since they were like 14 together. I think them not being in the Vic, there's nothing in place in their character for them to do. I don't know what they would do, or what job they would do, or what career or storyline they'd have. I think they would just move to another pub. But
think of how much the show changed when the Carters were first introduced.
To be fair, I like a new family in the Vic, but at the same time, I just don't think
there's nowhere else for the Carters to go.
Especially Mick and Linda. And I'm sure that Danny Dyer has said if he's not in the Vic, or if him and Linda break up, then he won't do the show. I'm sure he's said that before, hasn't he?
Well, there's a quote on Twitter that says, "Give the Carters a break and find new owners for the Vic." So
maybe Alfie can come back, get with Hayley, and Hayley can run the Vic.
So the Slaters were running.
Hayley and Alfie.
when the Slaters were first introduced, there was a lot of nodding that Kat kept saying that she used to run the Vic. So I don't know. It's one of those things. We're running out of time, so I'm going to quickly go through two more. One of them I think you'll like, and that's split Sharon and Phil up.
Yeah.
Give her back to her strength. Sharon has put up with just about enough with bully boy Phil. Her sass intact. Let's see if she can have some fun and realise that she is much more than Mrs. Mitchell.
Hurricane Sharon, come on.
And he says, remember the trailer Hurricane Sharon? That promoted her return a few years ago. Let's properly play that out. I mean, we want some Hurricane Sharon, don't we?
We do.
And one last one, which again, I think a lot of people would love to see. And even if it's just on the short term, it would be fantastic to bring back Janine.
Yeah, I think she will.
He mentions a lot that there's a lot of strong women in the forefront of Albert Square, and they're really important. With the return of Mel recently, as well as the Slaters, something which John York was rightfully passionate about, again, showing that John York and Kate Oates both have the same kind of similar minds. One thing that is missing is a good, deep, complex female EastEnders badly.
Yeah, Abby.
So we need to bring... I can imagine Abby and Janine, if they were something.
Yeah, I think they will bring Janine back, because Charlie Brooks has said recently it's coming up to the time now where I can be free and I'd like to come back. So it's all
coming into place.
Linked in together.
There we go.
Well.
So that was just a quick chat about the appointment of Kate Oates. As you can probably tell by our enthusiasm, we're really excited about that news. It's going to be great. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at Eastenders Week, or Instagrams at Eastenders Weekly Podcast, or email us eastendersweeklypodcast@gmail.com, and let us know what your opinion is about the Kate Oates appointment. We did do a tweet in the week when it was actually first announced, and you guys got back to us and gave us lots of comments and views of your own, and it was really great, and we used some of those during that chat. So obviously get in touch with us and we might read out something you say on the show. So there we go. Let's leave the Gazette newsroom now, shall we, and go back onto the square and see what's happening with our beady little eyes.
So we're going to have a little chat now about the ongoing Carter and the Highway brothers.
Yes.
So it did open up, like you predicted, with Stuart still in the house this week.
I was right about that, but then the rest of it was terribly
wrong. Then
he
just left.
Yeah. He just went down the stairs quietly.
So yeah, very odd. But he left a note that just said sorry.
But he almost got caught out also by
Mick.
Mick.
Yeah, by Mick. Yeah,
Mick had got up for a riddle in the
for a pony.
And so later he references it and says, I'm sure I heard a noise. Someone. Yeah. And they found the alarm system was switched off. So that was a bit strange. And then, like you say, Linda sees a post-it note that says sorry on it. And after they've gone through every single member of the family that could have written it, Halfway comes walking in.
I recognise those R's.
Yeah. He's now a cartographer, so he can recognise Stuart's writing.
Yeah. And so they're all a bit freaked out that he's been in their house basically at night time.
Mick wants to kick his head in. That's a direct quote.
Well, you should get Phil on the job.
He should.
Oh, Shirley sort of comes up with a plan saying, why don't you just get Tina out of the house? She doesn't need this.
Well, she's worried that...
She's fragile.
Yeah, she's worried that Tina's a bit too fragile and she's had so much upset in such a short space of time, and she's now reliving these bad memories that Stuart happened to her and Stuart years and years and years ago. So the worst thing they can do is add more on top of what there's already on Tina's fragile little mind.
Yeah. So it was quite nice that they... Not quite nice. Well, it was quite nice that Mick and Linda and Tina were out at the picture and it was just like a Shirley highway for a few days.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite nice because obviously Shirley's not been Halfway's biggest fan of recent times. She's a bit dismissive of him, isn't she? And she only sees the sort of rubbish side of Halfway.
There was a bit of compassion toward Halfway this week, later in the week, where she kind of understood where Halfway was coming from.
See, I've got worrying things for Halfway in my predictions.
Yes, well,
I have so many predictions. One of them's going to be right.
You're beating the odds.
Yeah. So, it was like they decided to go to Stuart's flat to sort of kind of confront him. That's what Shirley wants to do.
Yeah. So the Tina, Mick, and Linda have gone away on holiday to Scunthorpe, I think.
Yeah.
It's
where they went on that special episode a few years ago, wasn't it? Where they grew up. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
No, they used to go on holidays there with Stan and the mum. I can't remember.
I think it's just the beach that's nearest to the East End of London. They all go there for their...
that's where they used to go as kids.
Their cockles. Tina's a bit worried also before they leave because she enters the room and sees that everyone's very quiet.
Yeah, like loads of bad news.
Yeah, and she's like, well, there must be some bad news. And she asks if Aunt Babe had died.
I know. She still cares. Although Shirley just goes, unfortunately, no.
Yeah, I know. Although we don't know that because they've just not heard any news about Aunt Babe.
Yeah.
So as far
Where
as
is Aunt Babe? In the
she might be
caravan?
drowning in a shallow puddle in the field somewhere.
Well, like she did to her sister. Tried to do to her sister.
Did she try to put her in a canal, didn't she? She just left her at the canal.
And in the rain on the bus stop, she left her as well.
Oh, she's horrible, isn't she? Aunt Babe, bring her back.
Although she's in our conscience again, so that's always a good
sometimes
sign.
That's a nice little nod, isn't it?
So yeah, they're off on holiday. Shirley and Halfway are going to go to Stuart's flat.
Yes, because Shirley has messaged Stuart and said, we need to talk. And Stuart phones them back the following day.
Heavy breathing.
Just him heavy breathing, yes.
And we also see like a clip of him like doing his scratchy photo thing on Halfway this time though, not Mick.
Yeah, he gets a picture of him and Halfway and he scratches Halfway's face out. Obviously not very happy with Halfway at the moment. I mean, he was halfway done wrong other than
he's innocent.
He's just kind of given a few home truths.
We're sort of left. They go to Stuart's flat. Shirley, it's all dark and dingy, and Shirley says to Halfway, "Oh, why don't you try and find him? He might be in one of his local areas or whatever." And she says, "I'll just wait here on the sofa." Yeah. You wouldn't want to come home and see that on the sofa, would you?
Just very nice about Shirley.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I
But
mean,
if you
she
were
has
Stuart,
violence.
I mean,
An angry tone.
Yeah, I don't want that. So she's sort of having a nose through some photo albums.
Leaving Tracy to run the pub by herself.
I know.
Which we need to bring up as
Although
well.
Tracy's worked there since like 1990.
I know, but she has to do sandwiches. We've learnt this week.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sonia wanted
pickles.
Sonia wanted to couldn't rustle me up a cheese and pickle. She had to make sandwiches. She has to pour pints. If a barrel needs changing, she has to leave the bar unattended.
Oh, she's all right.
Well, Ted's not there to look after the pub either, giving his view every now and then, picking up glasses and telling them that someone's looking a bit tipsy in the corner over there.
So funny they always have like an old man character do that job.
Yeah, it's a nice.
It was like Patrick before, and then it was like Jim Branning before that.
It's a bit of pocket money, isn't it?
So she sort of finds this photo of Halfway's face that's been scratched.
Yeah,
well, she kind of keeps it to herself. She puts it in her pocket.
She puts it in her back pocket, but she uses it as
She uses it with Whitney.
And for Halfway later on.
Yeah, but Whitney first.
Yeah,
and Whitney's in a new outfit.
Whitney's a new Whitney.
Why'd you call me over? I ain't working with Halfway.
Yeah. I don't want to work with Halfway. I don't want to, well, then you won't be working, Whitney. Where's this plan come from?
Why didn't she work when Tracy was on her own, eh?
Yeah, why wasn't Whitney working? She's such a lazy moo. Anyway, so Shirley's looking through some pictures. Halfway comes back and so like, have you seen Stuart? Have you seen Stuart? No, I haven't seen Stuart. I've gone to all his old haunts, been to the pig, been to the kebab shop, been to the police station.
His old haunts.
And he's nowhere to be seen. And Halfway's getting a bit worried now. He thinks that something bad has happened to Stuart. Perhaps he's gone and taken his own life. Or he's been beaten by Phil Mitchell and his strongmen. We don't know. We don't know what's happened to Stuart. No. And Stuart's getting very worried.
Stuart's not really been in it this week. He just keeps taking all the Duff Duffs.
Yeah, he
just appears at the end of an episode and has a Duff Duff.
I mean, he's the emphasis on what this whole story is about, though, isn't he? He's like the exclamation mark of the whole story.
Yeah, so we had like quite a few scenes, Halfway and Whitney as well, rekindling their relationship this week. So yes. Whitney's like against him completely, and obviously Shirley has a little word with her. Well, he kind of needs you. Yeah,
Stuart stays at the flat to wait for... Sorry, Halfway stays at the flat to wait for Stuart, and Shirley thinks that he shouldn't be staying there. So as a plan, messages Halfway and says that she's got a plan, and that if she comes back to the pub, she'll be able to talk to Halfway about it. But the plan is actually for Whitney to try to talk sense into Halfway.
Yeah.
And that's when she shows in the picture saying, like, if he really loved you, why would he do this to you in this picture? And Halfway kind of slaps the picture away, and Whitney woefully follows him to the PG, and
she talks some sense into him, and they have quite a nice moment.
Well, he doesn't really listen to her.
No, he's still kind of on that grasp of hope that Stuart isn't.
No, I think he thinks that Stuart's going to apologise, and Stuart's going to admit.
But we all know it's not.
Well, no, but Halfway seems to think that he's going to admit everything he's done wrong and just say, "Oh, I've put my hands up. I've done a lot wrong. I'll do my time in the jail, and and everything will be sorted. All the C's will be settled. Everything will be okay." But Stuart's not thinking that way anymore. He's not really thinking laterally anymore, because when Halfway does eventually visit Stuart again and leaves him a note to say, "I've got your back," this riles Stuart up even more. And
they have like a confrontation, don't they?
They have a really mad
and he
conversation.
brings up like their childhood again, how he protected Halfway, who no one's there to protect me, and all this stuff. But at this point, Halfway's kind of not, if you don't apologise and put your hands up, then that's it, basically, isn't it?
Well, he's really upset because he said, I tried phoning you, I tried texting you, I left voicemails, and you ignored them. And Stuart just kind of pushed it away by saying, well, my battery died. And so Halfway doesn't think that Stuart's taking him very seriously. And just when Halfway's about to leave, Stuart then sits up and suddenly says, 39 missed calls, 62 texts, 40 of them said you love me. And so then Halfway's ears kind of prick up and go, oh, so you were paying attention. So why are you lying to me again? Trying to push me away. And then this, as you say, this is when Stuart kind of admits that he feels maybe a bit of jealousy for Halfway, because the Carters kind of accepted him into their family immediately. Well, when Stuart first arrived, it took a lot of time. But then Stuart never really helped himself. He didn't really try to integrate himself.
He doesn't see it like that, does he? He's
Well, that's what I mean. He thinks that he should have been given the welcome treatment, the same, yeah.
But yeah, so, I mean, things aren't looking good for Halfway, in my opinion, because we had that, like, zoom out shot of him and Whitney kissing and getting back together, and it's like a slow zoom, and they're already happy, and the next day they're just like in each other's arms outside the Vic swinging.
When Mick turns back up again.
I mean, when someone's this happy and they're making this much of a point of it,
something bad's about to happen.
I'm really scared that Halfway, I don't know what's going to happen to him. This is going to be like a tragedy.
I mean, I think I've got a funny feeling there's going to be a bit of a kidnap situation going on. I still stand that.
Yeah, Stuart is obviously planning to play another game of Torturer.
That's it, I think.
Because he's bought like duct tape and stuff, and we see that he's printed off all these pictures of the Carters.
Loads of pictures of the Carters on that printer.
From the EastEnders official website as well. They're cast photos.
Copyright BBC.
What's the signature? But yeah, I mean, they keep showing how happy they are. So, and he scratched Halfway's eyes out. Are we going to see something happen where Halfway's going to die?
Well,
and Whitney's going to be heartbroken again?
No, I don't think Halfway's going to die.
You don't?
No. No.
I haven't really...
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't think he's going to die.
I don't want him to.
No.
Well, but he's so like innocent and nice, and that normally happens to like those sort of characters, because that's like the most heartbreaking.
Happened to Fat Boy? Are you thinking Fat Boy?
No, I'm just thinking of that.
No,
I'm just thinking of that. The
demise.
The way they've written Halfway to be innocent, childlike. He's not like nasty. That normally happens, and they keep showing like long zoom outs of them hugging. Maybe something happens to Whitney, but she's too.
It kind of depends on how long this Stuart storyline is going to go on for, because I'm imagining that it's not going to go on past summer. I think that this storyline...
No, he's still filming now, Ricky Champ.
That's fine. That's still not autumn, winter.
Yeah, they're doing autumn now.
Yeah, but just about. It's on the cusp.
I mean, something's going to happen. I mean, what do you think he's going to take, Mick or Tina?
No, I think
this is his eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing, isn't it?
Well, that's true. That's true. So we need to throw back to who was he choosing when he was doing
Linda and Mick's room.
What? We don't know that.
Yeah, we
don't know whose rooms he was picking.
I do. It was Linda and Mick's.
I mean, it makes most sense. If he's most upset with the Carters, it makes most sense that he's going to be most upset with the matriarch.
Yeah, but now he's upset with Halfway because he's scratching his face out.
Yeah, but he's upset with Halfway, not just because he feels like Halfway has betrayed him, that he's not his family anymore, that he's now become a Carter rather than they're not Highway anymore.
Halfway Highway. Stuart Highway.
I mean, I think it's going to be something to do with Torturer. I think that's a given, and I think it's going to be to someone. And I don't think he's going to kill Halfway. I think Halfway will be involved.
Or if something going to happen, he's going to like something wrong is going to happen during this torture, and like Stuart ends up dead.
What, Stuart?
It's high, and it comes out it's Halfway that's done it.
I think Stuart will die
or something.
I agree with you on that. I think Stuart
something might go wrong during his game.
Yeah, Stuart will die on his own demise. I don't because they couldn't have a member of the Carters killing Stuart, because that would be damaging on that cast member, especially someone like Halfway. Because they kind of touched on the PDSA, the kind of post-traumatic stress, and so something like that would probably kick him over the edge a little bit. So they can't.
Maybe he like does a game of Torturer, for example, and takes Tina again. And like the Carters,
he won't take Tina again.
Yeah, this is just an example.
Okay,
like he's in the car and she's there, and the Carters find out. They all get in Mick's car and follow him and find him in this abandoned place. Something goes wrong, and like they put Stuart in and pay torture on Stuart, and something goes wrong and he dies.
No.
Someone goes back and kills him. You don't. It's like a whodunit.
No,
like between them all.
Nope, they can't have their hands. I did think first of all it was going to be a Stuart whodunit storyline, but in retrospect, they cannot have one of the members of the Carters family with blood on their hands. They cannot do that.
Halfway.
No, they just couldn't do that.
Or Sonia.
You've actually it wouldn't be Sonia, would it?
Well, to get back from
choke him on a blooming pickle sandwich.
What he did to Tina.
No, Sonia's not that upset.
I know, but if it's a whodunit, you have to have lots of
Sonia's names. Yes, but Sonia's being nice to Tina because she wants to get Tina's plumbing.
No.
Let's just.
Tina had a kiss from Kush the other day, and she enjoyed it.
Yeah, no. What's going to happen is Stuart's going to have his death in his own hands, and it will either be through a chase, so like a car chase, maybe he's got someone in the boot, and the Carters are chasing him, and he crashes, and then he dies.
And it's like is Stuart dead, or is the person in the boot dead? Friday, Duff Duff.
Yes, there we go. Now we're talking on the same page.
Something like that.
We can't talk about it too much detail now, but Tina also got upset because she thought she was being treated like a child by the rest of the cast.
I know, that was so like a flight. It was like, I'm leaving to live with Zaza in Paris. Sonia talks to her. Oh no, I'm not going to leave now.
That's what I mean. I think Sonia and Tina might get back together again.
I'd like them to.
Yeah. I mean, that's all. Sorry, I should say in the article we were talking just about. written by Duncan Lindsay, he says that there needs to be an LGBT plus relationship opened up again.
Loads of comments about that, how they're all gone. Bring back Ben, that's what I say.
Bring back Ben.
The guy who played Ben said congratulations to Kate Oates, so he wants his job back. So we just got a few tweets about the Carters storyline. So we've got Simon who says, halfway so stupid, R.E. Stuart. I think he understands now. I thought that was stupid when he said that.
Yeah, it was dumb.
Come on, we know he's horrible. Jez says, so happy Whitney and Halfway back together. Tragedy. William says, I can't decide which Eastenders drip I like more, Halfway or Keanu. They are drips. Lovable drips.
Lovable drips, but Keanu's beginning to show his true colours.
Mark says, Shirley's one-liners are what make the show for me. And Shana says, how can Mick and Linda and Shirley treat Halfway like dirt when he was the one who saved them from the home and gave them that ring? People keep bringing that ring up, don't they?
Everyone keeps reminding them about them getting the Vic back from that ring. To be fair, it was Halfway that saved the...
He also shot Mick. So
Yes.
it's 1-1. So we're going to quickly go off and play a quick game, and then we're just going to do the last storyline of this busy week. Oh,
Trying to keep up.
yeah. So... Hello and welcome to Jack Branning's Witness Protection.
Oh no.
I know, this is such a high crime area.
This is awful, isn't it? It must be those gangs that are hanging around.
So this is the game where a crime's been committed on the square and Jack Branning has vowed to protect the identity of the culprit from witness protection. But I saw everything and I'm the witness. So Jack has left me to be questioned by you for 60 seconds and I can only reply with a yes or no to your questions.
Okay.
So a good tip would be to ask describing questions about the character because it's a character on the square. So what I'm going to do is just read my witness statement out for you to see what I experienced. So last night I was out with Sharon and Mel at E20. We were having cocktails.
Lovely.
They both went into the office for a quick meeting and a chat and left me alone at the table. Of course, the club was quite quiet, but I saw someone take a bottle of vodka from behind the bar.
Ooh.
Now, I'm not one to gossip, but if you can guess who I saw within 60 seconds by only asking yes or no questions, I might tell you who it was.
Okay.
Okay, so are you ready?
I'm ready.
Your time starts now.
Does this person work in E20?
Yes.
Ooh. Does this person is married but not living with the person they're married to? Oh.
They sometimes work in there.
Does this person have a deal where he could go to Dubai and open a shop with his father? Does this person works in E20? And you know, Billy.
Do some work, yeah.
It's not Mel or Sharon. Oh, okay. Does this person work in E20 but also works in other establishments as a cleaner? Does
35 seconds.
Right, so this person is a female?
Yes.
Does this person have an illegitimate baby inside of them?
No.
Does this person have 3 children?
Seconds.
3 children that don't live at home?
No.
Does this person have a scam ring with Big Elvis, whatever his name is?
Yes.
Is it Big Mo?
Yes. Ooh, just.
Oh, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, it was Big Mo that took the bottle of vodka.
That does not surprise me at all. Carter away.
The end of a cleaning shift.
Yes, you cart her away now. In fact, I can see it happening. Off she goes. I'm waving impolitely at her.
And that was Jack Branning's Witness Protection. Right, so we're going to quickly... I mean, this is a really short storyline this week with the Slaters. So we're just going to run through this.
Yeah, more importantly, it's Kat and...
Hayley.
Yes.
Yes, because there was a few... Obviously, Kat still wants to talk to her kids because it's their birthdays coming up. And she asks Hayley to phone Alfie for her because he won't answer the phone.
Yes, so there's a bit of a tussle between them two. Basically, Hayley refuses to phone them. And Kat's like, why are you being so awkward? Why are you being so awkward? And
I liked the reference that Alfie wanted Hayley to stay working behind the bar, but Kat wanted her out.
Yes.
Well. Wonder why he wanted her to stay behind the bar.
I mean, there's always been frost between Kat and Hayley, hasn't there? And every now and then when you think the bridge is built... It gets tumbling back down again. Normally by Hayley, but she's trying to sabotage herself.
But she did phone Alfie and threatened him and said, "You let her do it, otherwise I'll tell her that about everything.
Yeah, I'll tell her everything. And then when he hangs up,
she's like, oh.
yeah, I didn't mean it. I promise I didn't.
And she was quite scared for her life for the rest of the day.
She really was. So she goes running around the square and she ends up in E20 looking for Kat. And Jean tells her that Kat's gone home.
Yeah. She wants to speak to her or something, doesn't she?
Well, Hayley wants to make sure that Kat hasn't spoken to Alfie.
And and they're like in the kitchen and Jean comes out and Hayley's like packing because she's like, I'm just going to leave. I don't want to be here. And she's like, Kat wants to speak to you. Yeah. She doesn't let anyone in the kitchen. Like Mo wants to go have a drink. She's like, no one's allowed in.
Well, it's like
Kat's in there.
Yeah, it was like going to the headmistress's office, wasn't it? It's like
you could just see. I mean, there's not much colour in Hayley's face anyway, but whatever there was drained out of it. And she thought, oh God, this is it. And then Kat comes out and says, you're a gobby cat. Come in here. We need to talk. And so she's like, oh, can I just explain? No, she goes in, but it's all good. She's
well, she gets a Skype call, doesn't she? And yes, she has just spoken to Alfie, and Alfie said, "Yep, fine, you can talk to." It's Bert and Ernie's, the twins' birthday. Because also we need to remember that Hayley felt a bit sorry for Kat as well, because she saw that Kat had bought some balloons, and that she had this plan in her head that she wanted to like have this nice birthday.
To begin with, during all those scenes, Hayley was really like, I don't actually care. Like, you don't care about your kids. But Kat kept speaking to her and kept saying how much it all means to her. So that sort of appealed to Hayley's kind side, which is there.
Hayley has got a kind side, and but she just doesn't show it that often.
Do you want an apricot?
Yeah. Jean also kept trying to push apricots onto Hayley. I'm under the belief, I presume, that they're good for the baby.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And then we also had like a little... I don't really want to call it storyline. I'm not pleased with this storyline of the cab routes.
Yeah, no,
it's a bit like...
Kat's,
really?
Yeah,
Kat Slater's been brought back for this.
Well, she's basically the best learner of London cab routes in the history of mankind. Mainly because she came up with a light bulb moment when she saw that Jean had tied herself up to the table with like wool and yarn, and so she starts thinking of the idea that what she should do is she should put pins on all the locations where she can then take the cab and then use the string or the wool to like go from one place to the next. Why don't you just do
Google Maps and just go this from A to B and just see what it tells you?
Because not everyone is competent on computers like you, Ben.
Mo had a
Big Mo. She set up a website.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it was watching that scene when she was mapping the route and everyone was watching her. It did remind me of like what's that film? A Beautiful Mind, when the guy was like doing that big mathematical equation.
All those scenes are so pointless. Like, they just keep showing scenes of Kat like saying random roads, and it's like,
well, you don't know them because you don't live in London.
I know, but even if I did know them, I don't care to. It's just really pointless dialogue.
I mean, this is all kind of heading to the fact that Hayley's getting a bit jealous that Kat's able to do this, and also that Kat's going to miraculously...
It's just such pointless dialogue from Kat. Like, just every now and she just walk past, like, the market, and she'll be going left on Bridge Street and right on Queen Road and then up through... It's just like... I
think they're just trying to make it so that she can get that licence within the year. Because everyone, they didn't stupidly because it's realistic, but everyone said, it takes about 2-3 years to get the license. They haven't got that long. No. So they're just saying, Kat's going to do this in a year because she lived in London her whole life and she had a map with wool on it. I did like Kat. There was a lovely phrase from Kat saying that exhaust fumes, fried chicken, fag smoke and a hint of wee, that's pure London. And I thought that was the quote of the week this week. So I quite enjoyed that from Kat.
That was their only line that episode, wasn't it?
It was the only time you saw her.
There you go.
Episode. But but the Hayley and Kat storyline is simmering, isn't it? That's still...
That's this Christmas.
Oh,
it's going to be Christmas reveal. Or October. She'll probably give birth about October, November, I think. Hayley, and then it will all come out maybe.
So do you think she's not going to find out until after she's given birth?
Yeah, probably. Because Alfie might...
Well, I'm imagining Alfie will be like,
visit. I want to be part of my baby now. And she'll be like, I can't tell Kat. And then it'll go for...
Yeah, but Alfie still doesn't know that...
Yeah, exactly. But when she gives birth, he'll know.
Well, no, it depends on whether Kat shares the news. That's how it's going to be, isn't it? She's going to be talking to Alfie and she goes, oh, you'll never guess what else. Yeah. Hayley's pregnant.
So and then it's going to go to that, and Alfie's going to be like, I want to be part of the baby's life. And then she's like, well, Kat can't know. And then it will come out Christmas at the Slaters.
You're looking forward to Christmas?
Little Mo.
We want Little Mo back. That's another thing. Take heed, Kate Oates. We want Little Mo back as well.
Yeah. So we're just going to go on to the poll of the week then.
Yes. So we asked on Twitter, as we always do at the end of Monday's episode, a question, and you have to give us
what you would like to vote for as the 4 alternative answers. So EastEnders had its fair share of part-time characters recently, but which one should get a more permanent place on the square? That's what we asked, and the alternatives were Bijan and Chloe. They were the babysitters, the baby kidnappers.
They were.
Jessica, who is recently the Irish prostitute flat sharing with Jay. Felix Moore, who, if you dig back a little bit, you might remember had a stall which sold old London memorabilia and then just vanished.
Yes.
And everyone's favourite, pizza delivery guy.
Yeah.
So can you guess who won? Who everyone wants to see back?
Well, there's been a bit of influence on this poll, I feel.
That's one thing we should say. When we retweeted it later in the week, we tagged all the actors.
The fans
involved,
came out in force.
and they really did. So
I'm assuming that Jessica was the highest.
And you should assume correctly.
Yes.
Jessica got 62% of the vote. Pizza delivery guy, who was winning all week until that point, we retweeted the tweet, had 30%. Felix Moore 6%, and Bijan and Chloe got of 2%. I was really worried that no one would care about them.
It was the actress who plays Jessica retweeted it, and she said,
Well, she's a singer, actually. She's a singer, actress. She's
but she was the one.
triple
She
threat.
retweeted it, and I think her fans came out in full force, and
They really did.
got her the vote. So,
But I think that they may be quite pleased with the outcome. Because obviously, we have no influence on what's happening in EastEnders. But Jessica, we'll get to that in a second. First of all, someone reminded us that Candice Taylor should have been put on the poll, and I do regret not putting her on there. But we hadn't.
She's been in it more than once.
She's been in it more than once, and we did have a bit of an inkling that she might just be coming back too. But that was just before the Kate Oates news came around, and so but we shall wait and see. So so as I said, we retweeted it in the week, and we tagged Tara Lee in it, who played Jessica, and she quite kindly commented and also retweeted it herself. But this is what I mean. There's a bit of hints in the tweets. I don't know what quite to make of them, really. So she had basically inclined, well, you never know, with a winky face. And we were like, oh, please divulge, tell us more. And then there was just kind of like a smiley face. So it was a very short and brief conversation between us, but we were very excited.
Well, last week I said her Twitter profile says currently playing Jessica. So I know that she's back.
So follow her if you're interested at TLeelee, TEELEEE. And perhaps she might drop a few more hinting bombshells onto
Scoops.
the Twitter
Eastenders
sphere.
Scoops.
It's scoop. But lots of people want Jessica back, and there was lots of comments.
I voted for Jessica as my personal vote.
Did you vote for Jessica?
I did.
Oh, lovely. I don't vote because it's meant to be impartial.
Yeah, but it's your vote, so it doesn't matter. I can vote on my personal beliefs. Jessica.
On your personal beliefs, the religion that is Jessica. So there we go. So yes, thank you for everyone who got involved on that poll of the week. As I say, there's always a poll of the week at the end of Monday's episode when it's broadcast in the UK. You can see it and follow us on Twitter at EastEnders Week. We're also on Instagram at EastEnders Weekly. We're on Facebook. If you so wish, follow us. You can find us by searching EastEnders Weekly, and you can email us eastendersweekly@gmail.com. Give us any comments, any chat, anything you want to discuss that you hear on the show. We love to hear them, and as I say, if some of them we can read out, we will try our best to.
Yes, we always do. And could you just turn around for a second again? Sorry.
Yeah.
There's a post-it note on your back.
Right, take it off.
It says sorry, and it looks like your mum's handwriting.